we are diving into one of the most coveted frequent flyer programs in the world, KrisFlyer by Singapore Airlines. How does it stand out compared to other frequent flyer programs?
To Australia, New Zealand, you want to plan to Japan. Singapore is a lot of times an obvious stopover point.
And you travel in the spontaneous escapes period, that mileage drops to 30,000 miles only. Now, 30,000 miles plus taxes in business class is epic.
It feels like you are in a Taj property, right? When you are in a Singapore business class.
Just look at the UI UX of Singapore Airlines. It is so clean. It is so amazing. You feel good when you're booking it.
Pretty much most banks, barring a few here or there is a good tie-up with respect to Singapore Airlines.
Amex is this amazing currency where you can send it anywhere, but it just costs a little more.
Here is who it is great for. Say, I want that one program that I just want to get into and funnel all my points from whatever cards into. I think KrisFlyer is the answer for you. Singapore Airlines is not paying us to make this episode. This is just Aadil's inner excitement coming out.
Lights flashing bright, we're on the go. Tune in now, there's so much to know. Earning bits, travel dreams we sow. All aboard the great Indian Points and Miles show. Zero to hero in the blink of an eye. Fly first class, no need to be shy. Redemption sweet, touching the sky. Award seats booked, let's give it a try. Award seats booked, let the points flow. It's all aboard the great Indian Points and Miles show. Unlocking journeys wherever you go. The sky's the limit, feel the travel mojo.
Welcome back to the Great Indian Points and Miles Show. This is your host Aadil Bandukwala, and today we are diving into one of the most coveted frequent flyer programs in the world, KrisFlyer by Singapore Airlines. Known for their unparalleled in-flight experience and the iconic suites class, Singapore Airlines is the dream airline for many points and miles enthusiasts. But how do you make their redemptions work for you? What are hidden gems of the KrisFlyer program? Stick around as we're here to take you on a journey through the skies and into the heart of the KrisFlyer experience. Joining me today are my co-founders of the Great Indian Points and Miles Show, Dhimanth and Ameya. These two, like I've said before, have turned travel hacking into an art form with countless redemptions, hours of strategizing, and a knack for finding the best deals in points and miles game. They bring a wealth of knowledge to the table. Today, we'll be breaking down everything you need to know about mastering KrisFlyer. Dhimanth, Ameya, thanks for joining in.
Hey man, hi Adil. Hey, before you proceed and go ahead with your your planned schedule, let me just break and something tell something to the audience, right? Among us, there is somebody who is not only a SQ seat finder expert, but he also knows how to make the best out of even the chefs and the food on the flight, right? And considering that me and Amaya were introduced, no prizes were guessing who that person is. So as we go on, Adil, I think I mean on a very serious note, I think we would also love to learn a little bit from you about this program and how you have been able to maximize this, right? So let's dive in, guys.
Absolutely. Let's get to it. Let's start about setting the stage. And when we talk about setting the stage, let's talk about the Singapore Airlines experience. I'll start with you, Dhimanth. What makes Singapore Airlines such a popular and iconic airline amongst travelers, especially in the points and miles community?
Yeah, see, there are three things generally for a customer or a frequent traveler which matter a lot, right? One is the quality of the airline itself, right? I mean, what the airline stands for, whether you can connect with the airline itself, right? It's very qualitative, right? The second thing is, does it have the routes or the connectivity that you need to be able to fly more frequently with them? And then there is this third aspect of being economical to fly, right? Be it a business class, economy, and you being able to plan it with the right budget. I think these are the three things that I look for generally, right? So if you were to ask me about KrisFlyer in specific, it touches that chord on all three aspects, right? It has great connectivity. The staff, the airline, I've traveled like more than 15, 20 times with them, and I think I connect with the airline in general, right? And I have a feeling that most people would, because they have a very nice way of running the airline, right? So as we speak, and as you guys experience your first flight, you will realize this a little bit more what I'm speaking about, right? And then the third is an excellent frequent flyer program. Like I spoke about, they have an excellent frequent flyer program, right? So which we are obviously going to unpack in this now. Coming to what it is, why it is special to me, right? There are two reasons. One, extremely qualitative, like I spoke, and let me give you a few examples. We can deep dive it as we go on. uh, it's the best airline to fly economy on, right? Great space, right? The seats are not very cramped, and you find very respectfully travel even in economic class, right? That's one thing which I like about the airline a lot. The food is brilliant even in economy, right? And business, obviously, the food is excellent, right? So that's the qualitative part of it, right? The whole experience of flying it. And then there is a quantitative part of it. Let me just dive on it, right? One is obviously the sweet spots, and a program called spontaneous escapes, which makes this program even more sweeter, right? So we can cover that in a little more detail, but it's basically a program which further discounts the miles availability for customers, right? So that's largely, Adil, why I love traveling and running with Singapore Airlines.
I think that's a great summary, Dhimant. Just for our viewers, right? You should, if you spontaneous escapes is such a beautiful program. Sometimes as passionate travelers, you have the urge to just say, "Yaar, kahin chalte hain," and you want to go this weekend, you want to go next weekend, or you want to go in a fortnight. तब भी कुछ डील मिल सकती है क्या, right? Typically, we'll show you a lot today. I'm excited about the podcast because we're going to show you how to redeem and not just plan. We'll actually open up Singapore Airlines. I'm going to share my screen, and the three of us are actually going to show you. We'll pick a destination, we'll go to a destination, we'll check the mileage requirement, we'll check the taxes, bringing all of that to you. When we do that, you will see that, let's say if I'm booking something in March or April, Bangalore to Singapore, or anywhere, any city in India to Singapore, the mileage requirement for that is going to be 43,000 miles in business class. Having said that, when Singapore launches spontaneous escapes and you travel in the spontaneous escapes period, that mileage drops to 30,000 miles only. Now, 30,000 miles plus taxes in business class is epic, right? And for that reason, spontaneous escapes, like Demon said, is a stellar feature. In addition to their excellent crew who always takes care of you, top tier cuisine. We have stuff like Book the Cook, where you can actually order your meal in advance and it'll be custom made. We cover that too. And then the aircrafts are always spick and span in the most highest quality. So you can
Yeah,
never have a bad experience in SQ
agreed.
ever, in my experience. That's a great summary, Dhiman. Dhiman, follow up question to you. Do you have a personal experience or a favorite feature or anything that you greatly admire about Singapore Airlines? You've flown them a few times now. What's
Yeah.
been your most treasured memory?
Yeah, I think let me talk about one of my experiences when I was flying this F1 experience that we did, this year, right? So last year, actually, now we are in January. So when we did it last year, uh, I was on the business class flight, right? And this was my first business experience on a A380, right? Because that's something that obviously I wanted to do from a long time. And the moment I got into the A380, I still had that want of trying first class, right? I couldn't get into first class, and the seat was just not available, right? And Adil, you managed to get a first class seat, so you'll know why I'm saying this, right? But when I entered into the business class, the way I was treated by the cabin, right? It was amazing, right? So I was talking to the captain, when he entered, and I was speaking to him, and I was telling him that, I tried a lot. Is there any way I can a hack maybe to get first class? Is there a day on which it opens? And the guy was like, why are you worried? Like, we'll give you a first class experience, right? And I went to my seat, and from there onwards, I never felt, left out. And Adil, just to be a little more, it feels like you are in a Taj property, right? When you are in a Singapore business class, right? Uh, I was actually offered a few things which only first class customers get, just because I was a little disappointed, and the crew didn't want me to get disappointed, right? So they were like, okay, we offer only this to the first class, but why not you try it, right? Because you're flying with us on the first time. I said, okay, great. So, and again, none of this was uh, I didn't ask for it, and that's the beauty of it, right? So this memory, Adil, stays for you forever, right? I mean, how can you not remember this when you're treated like this? And it's extremely opposite to what you've experienced in certain other airlines. I mean, I have had horrendous experiences, right? And obviously the name of the airline is not important, but just to quote a few, my Hong Kong business flight was such a pathetic experience. I was left without veg food because I didn't order something pre food, right, on a business class. And again, that's something which I cannot fathom, right? So completely opposite.
No, I think it's a very important this one also part of flying that I think that hospitality is something I don't know, maybe as Indians we value that a little more as well. Indians are generally hospitable, and then I think we sort of have similar expectations sometimes. Like I think I've had my share of I'm sure you guys have as well on well, some European airlines can tend to be a little uptight at times, to use the word, but oh yeah, Singapore, I think great thing with respect to uh, I think just the way they treat you.
Amaya, so like you correctly said, I think you brought in a brilliant point, right? थोड़ी सी like desi feeling आती है when you travel with Singapore. It feels like you have the Indian hospitality traveling with you, and that's something that matters a lot to us because again, it's not about European or any other type of airline. It's just about that you cannot connect to a lot of time. For example, it's hard to explain to somebody why I cannot adjust this time with a non-veg meal. I mean, it's hard to explain, right? I mean, for them it may not be such a big deal, for us it's such a very big deal, right? So from that lens, I think I felt completely at ease, right? And again, it was not only about food, right? So let me give you an example, right? Another example. So the kit that they give in a first class, they offered me the same kit on a business class because they felt that, okay, this guy felt left out, and let us at least motivate him to try first class the next time, right? So and these are small gestures but goes a long way.
For
Yeah,
sure, for
I
sure.
mean,
One
you
of the
get the nice hospitality with an excellent product. It's, I think, a great
yeah.
combination. Yeah.
Yeah, Adil, I have a question here, and again, this is something probably I have always been thinking about, right? Why do certain economy airlines stand out versus, let's say, others, right? Is it the seat, the leg room is like higher, or it's just a little more different seating? Like, what does Singapore Airlines do better than others? Like,
I think they have both, right? Both a great hard product as well as a soft product. So first thing is like it's all about it. I think the passenger experience starts when you're booking the flight itself. Like for us who are redemption fanatics, right? Just look at the UI UX of Singapore Airlines. It is
hmm,
so clean. It is so amazing. You feel good when you're booking it. Matlab, I get a high when I'm planning the research or I'm trying to book the experience itself. The UI is so sexy. Their mobile app is so good. I think it starts from there. And then, you go to the airport and then the crew that greets you at the counter, there is a certain style to it. There is a certain way they approach you, treat you. That's the second thing. And then especially if you are in Singapore, then there is the lounge experience, which is if you're in business or if you are a Star Alliance Gold or SQ Gold, then you go to the Silver Chris lounge, and it is the most amazing lounge,
oh, yeah,
spacious lounge. You got breathtaking views of different SQ aircraft coming in, parking, docking, moving away. It's beautiful to see. You got fantastic dim sums. If you enjoy dim sums, if you enjoy a good laksa, you'll get the most, you know hitting laksa that will open up all your pores. So it's things like these. And then when you finally board the aircraft and you get on board, I think the way they greet you, the hard product itself is great. The seats are done well. You've got a fantastic in-flight entertainment system. The food, like you said, is top notch. So when you read the menu, you're kind of looking forward to it. and then the whole flight is great, and then the deboarding experience is great too. So I think the whole package, it's like the whole nine
Correct.
yards, in my in my view. But also it's some of these quirks that you don't get on other airlines. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. So if you're flying business, or if you're flying first, they have this very cool toy which is called, it's a soft toy called Berry, and it's a small teddy bear, and they give it to kids. But a few of us, particularly guys like Ameya loves collecting models of airplanes. If you go to his house, he has these amazing aircraft models of different shapes and sizes of different planes, right? So something like this is a collectible. He'll want to have it. I love collectibles as well. So this is like a collectible. I had to have it. I just requested them, saying that, I'm very fond of Berry. I know I'm traveling alone and I don't have a kid with me, but can I have one, please? And then they were so kind. They came and said, would you like a male version or a female version? And, I, and I'm like, hey, I'll get a male version, please. That'll be nice. They said, would you like the one in chef white? So is there a particular one you want? So I had done my research and I knew. So I said, no, no, I want the guy who's in blue. So they got it to me. And the cool fun fact about Berry is Berry's been featured in the Disney's 100 themed version. He's been featured in chef's fights and a talk. He's been featured oftentimes as a plush toy on eBay. So it's one of those collectibles, and when you ask, they'll give it to you, and they won't make a fuss about it. So they're willing to go that extended mile, and that's what
Yes,
makes
so
the
Adil,
experience
I
amazing.
want to add something here, right? So two quick things here. One, this toy thing also happened with me when I was traveling business, right? Because I was trying to get into first and I couldn't. So I was speaking to them and I said, okay, can I buy one for my daughter? And he just got me one. And again, he came back and said, okay, do you want the male version or the female version? The same question that she asked you. And I was like, okay. And then he just left. And I said, okay, I want to pay for it. So no, no, you can have it. And so that was one experience. The second was, I just spoke about the veg non-veg experience issue, right? I was again flying with Singapore Airlines to Japan, economy again. My wife has a particular meal she has generally because of her certain condition that she has, and they didn't have it because they confused it with somebody else, and they actually gave that meal to somebody else. Again, nothing. We didn't fuss out. We were not angry. We said, okay, understandable. I mean, we'll figure out something. But the head of the crew came back after half an hour. He offered us a $400 credit and said, please buy something from the and we refused, and because we realized it was a genuine mistake, and he persuaded us, and then he spoke about us, what he could do in Japan because he was there last year with his wife, and suddenly it became like such a friendly conversation. So I mean, again, I feel so now I get it, Adil. What you're saying is that because the package is so good, you end up even feeling good about the things that are probably ordinary, right? And I mean, fair point.
Cool. With this, let's cut into the program. So let's start understanding what KrisFlyer is all about. Let's get into the basics. I'd love to bring in Ameya here. Ameya, talk to us. What is the KrisFlyer program? How does it stand out compared to other frequent flyer programs?
Sure. So, I mean, we'll get into depth with the rest of the episode, but KrisFlyer is the Singapore Airlines frequent flyer program. We are able to book flights on Singapore Airlines. We are able to book flights on Star Alliance partners. And I guess there's a few other airline partners as well. Things like Virgin is there, New Zealand is there, which are partners over there. The one big thing that stands out with respect to the program, and I think they've built this over time, is the sheer number of partners that they have, right? So when it comes to, for example, earning KrisFlyer points, I think at least from an Indian perspective, why KrisFlyer becomes really special is, number one, Singapore is probably one of the closer hubs from where you can fly out. So you want to plan to Australia, New Zealand, you want to plan to Japan, you want to even go across the Pacific into the US West Coast and whatnot. Singapore is a lot of times an obvious stopover point. From an Indian perspective, the other thing that is like really important is they have a huge variety of partners from which you can, transfer and earn your KrisFlyer miles, and we can talk about it in detail through the episode. But I think all of these things, plus the things that you guys already talked about, which is an exceptionally good hard and soft product. I think from an Indian angle, it definitely is a program that I think all of us should be serious about. It is very easy to do. it is also very flexible with respect to how you can earn your points and whatnot. And then there are a few quirky things which you can do with respect to extending and taking out a lot of value out. I'm sure you guys will cover stuff with respect to the spontaneous escapes. Hemant already talked about the stopover feature is something that, while I haven't used it yet, I find it super fascinating, and I think there is potential to extract a lot of value out of that as well. So
So, am I just adding to that stopover point, right? So, let's take an example of Japan, right? Because we've spoken about it and it's a very popular destination. Like, if anybody is flying Singapore Airlines on Japan, right? Irrespective of what you do in Japan,
mhm.
you can take a stopover at Singapore free of cost. Number one. Number two, you don't need a visa for X number of hours. I think it's 96 or 48. I'm not really sure about it. I think it's 48 if I'm not mistaken. It's a
Yeah, I think in specific for the Japan case, I think it doesn't matter because the Singapore visa is, I think it is 72 hours. I could be wrong.
yeah,
But the second thing is also, you also need to hold a valid visa of another third country. I mean, for example, if you hold a US visa, UK visa, Japan visa, these are all counted. But yeah, essentially, I think just taking one step back, the feature is essentially saying that, say, for example, if you're taking like a round trip flight, what it allows you to do is it allows you to do a what they call a stopover. When you say stopover, it essentially says that, think of it as a connection, but that connection can be as long. I believe the upper cap is somewhere over 1 month or something. So you can technically say, like, if you have the right visa, you can say, hey, I'm going to Singapore, then I'm going to Japan, and then I'm flying back in. And I can probably, stop at Singapore for as long as I'd like,
yeah,
cover the city without incurring an additional cost. So in some sense, it's very similar to the other United one, the excursionist kind of a thing, but
yeah.
in which you're able to, get
I
an
think
extra
somebody,
flight without paying for it.
yeah, I think somebody like Etihad or Emirates also used to have this feature at one point of time. I think I'm not sure if they still have it, but again, very similar and very helpful for somebody who wants to do an additional stopover, and it's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the so by the way, I think with respect to regular fares, even on award bookings, you're able to do a stopover. But the special fares that you have, the cheap ones that come in once in a while, for that, I think the caveat is you need to do a this thing return flight. So per return flight, you are allowed one stopover. This also holds for Star Alliance. So if you're booking Star Alliance via Singapore Airlines, you can use the same feature, and that's great. It's like having an extra flight. So if we are clever enough with respect to how we plan around things, uh, it's like covering an extra destination without really having to pay for it.
Yeah, I think just to clarify here, I mean, when you said there are three type of basic fares, just let's cover that quickly also, and maybe Adil you can add it. There is a promo fare, which is when spontaneous escapes is running. Then there is a saver fare, which is always available but has limited number of seats, and if you run out of that number of seats, award seats, then it goes to the advantage fare. And I think these are the three type of seats that are available, right? So what I understood, Amay, is that promo you can't have a stopover. Saver pay you can have a free stopover, but if you take a return flight,
Correct.
and advantage you can always add a free stopover.
Even on a one way. And
No, no,
Star
one way.
Alliance also, you need a return flight.
Okay, awesome. This is great.
Yeah, that's a good summary, Dhiman. So what we're saying is, um, for spontaneous escape kind of programs, there's always a promo fare available. So imagine if you're doing a promo fare, which is let's say 30,000 miles. On that, you cannot do a free stopover. But
Perfect.
if you are doing, let's say, a return trip on saver fare, which is Bangalore, Singapore, Bangalore, that's going to cost you 43,000 points into two. You can do one stopover there, right? So you can do one stop over there. So, for example, a good case there is if you're doing even Bangalore, Singapore, Bali, then that makes a great use case. Because
Got it.
what you will do is you will stay in Singapore for a few days and then you will take a connection to Bali. Now, while coming back, you can't do a stopover again because the stopover allowed is just one on the saver fare.
Well,
Right?
there's a slight corner case here. I mean, yes,
Mhm.
you can't do a free stopover, but
Yeah,
even on saver fares as well as Star Alliance, or so essentially the idea is if you want to add an extra stopover on any of these, you have to pay something like $100.
that is
Yeah.
So,
correct.
and that could be okay. That's like for an extra
Yeah,
destination, that's something you can technically do.
correct.
Yeah, I think like we also spoke about one thing, right? So with Singapore, I think also is worth always taking a chance of calling their helpline. right? There are some things if you're not able to do on the app. I mean, it's one of the few airlines that you would like to speak to, unlike a few other airlines, right? So my request also would be that if there is a complicated case where you want to have a stopover and you cannot find it on the app, like, be open to call them.
Yeah, but just be super patient, right? Because sometimes it takes you time to connect to an agent. And like I have sometimes found it very useful because I've been able to get really good deals on the phone which were not showing on the web, but it has taken me an hour or hour and a half because this thing takes time. The agent has to run multiple searches, they've got to process the whole thing, and then you have to be ready to act on it then. So if they say if it's available, then you got to say yes, book now, and then they'll put you on the IVR. You punch in your credit card details, the OTP comes to you, you got to punch in that OTP. You never have to say the OTP to them, but you got to punch it on the phone, right? So you got to be prepared with all of this. Then they'll say, okay, it's generated. They'll ask you to verify your identity. They'll ask you for your KrisFlyer pin. So please remember your KrisFlyer pin. If you've forgotten, please before calling, remember that pin. Otherwise, the redemption won't go through. You'll also have to kind of remember your frequent flyer number, tell them your frequent flyer number. So this whole experience will take a good hour and a half. Don't think it'll happen really quickly. The best way, obviously, to book is seamlessly on the web. It is very seamless. It happens instantly. But sometimes, like Dhimanth said, partner awards or Star Alliance awards they might be available, but they might not be shown on the web. And in these cases, the phone is really, really helpful. So with that, let's come back to Ameya. Ameya, you defined the program. You said Singapore Airlines program helps you book Singapore Airlines flights, Star Alliance flights, Partner Airlines flights. Now, let's come to if people want to start earning KrisFlyer miles in India, how do they kind of go ahead and make that happen? Let's talk about what cards are exciting and what cards you think are the most savvy to go to.
So I think that one of the great things about Singapore Airlines, and I called it out earlier, is that pretty much most banks, barring a few here or there is a good tie-up with respect to Singapore Airlines, right? So I think just to walk over things. So for example, you've got Axis Bank and the entire Axis set of cards. We've talked about it in prior episodes, but so things like an Atlas is great. Things like Magnus Burgundy is great. There's also a nice hidden one, which is your Indian Oil access card, and these guys have some partnership with Indian Oil also, so you can get that little extra juice with respect to your fuel expenditures. I haven't really used it, but someone did talk to me about a good conversion ratio there. There's HDFC. HDFC, not only do we get your Infinia and Diners series, there's also the BizBlack. I think this is one of Dhimanth's favorites, and there are some sweet spots which you can use really, really well with that. We can get into details on that. There's also stuff like HSBC is there. HSBC, the Premier card series, we are able to transfer into Singapore. Very recently, IndusInd has added. Now, IndusInd transfer ratios are mostly not so great, like unless you have the really top end cards. So stuff like your Heritage Metal or whatever it is called, that is decent. But I think one nice option over here is also the UPI card, your IndusInd Platinum Rupee. It's 0.5% in KrisFlyer miles if you do any UPI transactions. So yeah, for small transactions here and there, you can still passively end up earning more and more KrisFlyer miles. And then the few more other important ones, I think the newest launches from SBI, which is the co-branded ones. These cards are great loyalty cards. They can, I mean, you need a certain persona which can really benefit from these cards, and let's talk about these in detail as well. But I think they're very useful. I like the way they have structured their program out as well. It's not for everyone, but if you and let's talk about this.
No, but Amay, I see 2 points, right? I think one is obviously one point I'm just kind of taking away from what you said is uh, the ability to merge from various cards and various banks seems very high for KrisFlyer,
Mm-hmm.
which means that when you're stuck on a day when you need miles urgently, I think this is one program which obviously has a lot of partners. Unlike, let's say, an Accor, where Axis is your go-to partner, or HDFC sometimes because of the poor ratio, but Amex may you don't have it, right? So here, I think the avenues are far higher. I think, for example, HSBC Premier is there, or let's say we spoke about BizBlack. By the way, I consider BizBlack to be a card which is almost like a co-branded card, a value co-branded card, because they have only one partner. right? Or maybe two. Like you consider Vistara Air India as another one. Like for me, I'm only holding that card because of one airline, which is KrisFlyer, right? So in my head, I think two benefits which I take away is this entire ability to merge various programs, right? And you spoke about this KrisFlyer card, right? I mean, I think Adil holds it. Adil, if you can
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about it. I mean, why did you take the card? Because in my first glance, I was not sure whether the card is for me or not.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I have about 32,000 odd points or 33,000 odd points in my KrisFlyer account now. And I feel I have a Singapore trip coming up. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, I'm a big fan of their business product on the A350 from Bangalore, so I want to fly that. The cool part about the SBI KrisFlyer Apex is it's a 10,000 rupee card, so 11,800 plus GST. But as a welcome gift, you get 10,000 SQ miles.
Clear.
That itself solves my problem. So now, I don't have to transfer miles from anywhere else. I got my 43,000 and I can fly wherever I want, technically, for without any delta difference. So I'm using it as a top up card. Here's who it's great for. If you spend 7.5 lakh rupees in a year on Singapore Airlines, only on Singapore Airlines, nothing else. Let's say you're planning a family vacation or you have corporate travel coming up or whatever. If you are spending 7.5 lakh rupees a year on the Apex card, then what happens is you become SQ Gold. Now, SQ Gold or KrisFlyer Gold automatically makes you Star Alliance Gold. Now, a lot of us in India lucked out because we were holding the Vistara Infinite card. And
Yeah.
we were planning this key, isko to rakhna hi hai, because the merger will happen and whether will they give us the status or not. But Air India was very kind, right? They made all the Vistara Gold guys automatically AI Gold. Now, because of which we are Star Alliance Gold. Now, what happens is today, otherwise, acquiring that status is super hard. But if you
Yeah.
have a legit use case of traveling Singapore Airlines, then I think if you're spending 7.5 lakhs, that's a good way to earn Star Alliance Gold status. Otherwise, I think it's a good if you're just fascinated by Singapore Airlines and you genuinely want to earn just SQ metal points, then this is a great card. But otherwise, I think I'd love to ask you guys what are your top 4 or 5 cards for 2025, where if you wanted to fly, then where all could you potentially use, what cards would you potentially use to transfer to your SQ balance? I'll go with my ones first. For me, I think Infinia makes most sense because it's a 1:1. So you can transfer. The second one potentially would be Atlas because I've already exhausted my Group A for Magnus Burgundy, so I can't move that. So second for me becomes Atlas. Now in edge cases like Dhimanth you said where you have to top up and you want that small balance, then I rely on my Amex because Amex it is a 2:1. So you can transfer, but Amex is this amazing currency, right? Where you can send it anywhere, but it just costs a little more.
Opportunity
Uh,
cost is there with Amex, right? Like you'd rather use it somewhere else. Given that SQ
Correct.
is so
Yeah.
versatile, then you might as well use other means for getting there.
So based on my pool, right, I was just talking about like my number one card would be HDFC Infinia, my number two would be Atlas, my number three would be Amex, and my number four for my yearly bonus, or if I want to do like a few hauls, then I think it will be SQ Apex.
Yes.
But Demon, let's come to you, SBI Apex. But Demon will come to you. What would you choose? And then Ameya, similarly, what would your collection be?
Yeah, so the way I have thought about it is my access set of cards till the group A limit go to Accor by default. I mean that's a standard thing unless and until like something significantly big comes up on Singapore which I need to do, right.
Yeah.
HSBC, Premier, uh, BizBlack and Infinia, the HDFC family, both of them together are for me sweet spots for Singapore Airlines. So for my 2025 planning, it's Access card go to Accor, HSBC and HDFC go to KrisFlyer, and Amex is that like you said, largely for Bonvoy. But if there is a shortage of 500 KrisFlyer miles, I don't mind. But I don't see myself redeeming ever 30,000 KrisFlyer from Amex. I don't think that's going to happen because it just too much of regret at a later stage. I could have used that for a Maldives trip, for example, right? So that's my strategy for 2025 at least.
Awesome. So talk a little more about BizBlack, right? I don't think people are too familiar with that card, and I think they would appreciate a deep dive. Can you talk a little bit about what BizBlack is, what typical earn rates are, and why you value that card? And then we'll quickly come to Amya.
Got it. I think I mentioned three cards for this, right? One is HSBC, the second is BizBlack, and third is Infinia, like you said. Infinia is that for vouchers, right? So whenever you use 16.6%, you earn KrisFlyer 1:1 is a no-brainer, right? But uh, my biggest expense for last year and this year has is planned to be taxes. And HSBC and BizBlack are two cards which give still points for cards for taxes. Sorry, and the kicker on BizBlack is largely your uh, promo of 5x points, HDFC points for paying taxes, right? And that's a feature of the card. Let me just clarify, this is not a hack, it's a feature of the card. So the card says that if you spend 56,250 rupees worth of promo category, the promo category mein there is GST, there is advance tax, there is utility bill, some of them, and some of the other business expenses that you do, you get 5x on that, right? So you have the ability to earn 7,500 points, essentially SQ miles, for the promo spends, and then you also get the base reward rate of 3.3%, which you get on Infinia, right? So that's why it's valued today. So basically, put it in a very simple way, it encourages you to pay your tax every month rather than paying it at the end of the year or every quarter, right? So that's why I love BizBlack, because it's essential spends. You're not overspending. So आप साल में 7,500 into 12 miles are all yours.
So, Dhimanth, tell me one thing. I mean, I don't have the BizBlack, but I've seen this with the other HDFC ones. There is a peculiar way of transferring miles. No, you need to go through net banking.
Yeah,
Does that
yeah.
hold
I'll cover
for?
that. I'll cover that. So the reason I said it's a co-branded card is because the Infinia Miles partners, BizBlack doesn't have it, right? So if you go to that dedicated website of a Diners card or a Infinia card, that site doesn't exist for BizBlack, right? So in what they've done instead is you can only go via net banking. So earlier net banking had three partners. Intermiles, KrisFlyer, and Vistara
Yes.
was the third one. I think that is now gone temporarily, so you now have only KrisFlyer and Intermiles. Intermiles is essentially nobody's going to transfer because the opportunity cost is very high. So it's basically a KrisFlyer card. That's why I said it's a KrisFlyer card, right? And the beautiful part of that website is that it also tells you all other avenues where you can earn points. Also, by the way, the 3.3% base rate, there is the bonus kicker, and there is also a milestone benefit. For every 5 lakh you spend, you also get another 1% back in form of Taj vouchers, and these are not Amex Taj vouchers; these are the full-fledged Taj GVs, right? So essentially, this is what the card is all about.
I think one point to highlight is like even for Infinia holders, what Dhimant is saying is true. Where if you want to transfer your Infinia points to SQ, then like Ameya and Dhimant said, you've got to log into net banking and transfer.
Yeah,
For all other currencies like Aeroplan, United, there's a special portal through SmartBuy you can go and transfer. But specifically for SQ, you got to log into net banking and transfer, and the transfer ratio is sweet 1:1. So with that, Ameya, thanks for pointing that out, and let's come to you. What would be your SQ stash for 2025?
Sure. So I think mine is sort of similar to Dhimant. HSBC Premier is the first card, largely because I think the partners from there is either practically I can either put it into SQ or I can put it into Avios. I believe British is there and you can transfer internally. So HSBC Premier definitely number one. I'm very tempted to get the KrisFlyer card for a few reasons, and I think again highlighting a few nice features of that card is that I mean, sure, number one, you look at it as a way to buy points initially, right? I think that definitely helps. The other thing where that card is great for is the initial milestone benefit. So I believe it's up to 5 lakhs if you spend. You are effectively getting 5 miles for every 100 rupees that you spend.
That is
Number one.
correct. Yes.
So I think that's a decent transfer return. It's also a milestone card, so you don't have to worry about things like small spends or slippage that happens if you have like 145 rupees, so that I'm not earning any points in that 45 rupees. You don't have to worry about it. The other thing that card is good for, and it's something that not too many people talk about. And again, little not very black and white, but this card has a 2x on forex spends. Now SBI has a pretty high forex conversion charge, but you also get 2x points. So all in all, if you don't have other cards that have got like good forex things, like say for example now Infinia and Diners, they're getting rid of the global value program and whatnot. This can be a little bit of a nice utility card, saying if you don't have options for foreign spends, you can use that. Last one is the UPI card. My UPI card, I intend to transfer everything that I get from that into KrisFlyer itself. I'm not going to get a big volume over there, but yeah, whatever is there, small things it'll just add up.
Which UPI card is this? Talk a little more
Yes.
about that, Ameya.
This
Yes.
is the Indus Platinum Rupee. So I think this card has given me a lot of value for what it's worth. It's a lifetime free card. It works on UPI. For the longest time, you could get for every 100 rupees 2 Air India miles or Vistara miles at that point of time. So so far I've used it largely for that. They recently introduced KrisFlyer. The transfer ratio is not great, which is something like I think 0.5%. Like um, 1 mile for every 200 rupees or something. But I'm like, sure, it doesn't matter. I'm anyway not caring too much with respect to that. I'll do UPI spends and then I will transfer whatever I get, little things, and continue to use it.
There you go. So you can also earn KrisFlyer miles on UPI cards. And thanks, Ameya, for breaking that down for us. With that, let's jump into our third section. And our third segment or section is maximizing KrisFlyer redemptions. So here, Dhimanth, what are some of the best value redemptions you have done or you think the world can do using KrisFlyer miles for folks in India?
Yeah, this is the section we should call when rubber hits the road, right? When you really want to plan a travel, all is theory until you want to go there and do it. So here is my the way I look at KrisFlyer, right? One, I think the first thing is flying to Singapore. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? So it's a sweet spot, beautiful way to travel, short flight, right timings, right value. Uh, and second, I think two destinations which I can think of even from Singapore is Bali and Vietnam. Sweet spot because the miles are the same, right? When you go to Bali and Vietnam, it's the same as one when you go to Singapore, right? So if you're essentially planning these three, these are sweet spots. Another sweet spot is going to Australia, New Zealand. I think it's a beautiful way to go because the flights are again perfectly timed, and I think well, a good airport stopover at Singapore, world's best airport. I mean, what more do you want, right? So that's the second one. And third is obviously if you consistently traveled via, let's say, Europe or Middle East to US, is another beautiful way of flying to the US, right? So especially if you're going to say SFO, this would be a great flight to take, right? So also there is obviously you can obviously fly to New York as well, but I think these are the sweet spots, right? One place where I think Singapore doesn't, obviously for obvious reason, doesn't have great connectivity is Europe, because this is not the most efficient way to fly to Europe, right? So minus Europe probably, and a little bit of Middle East, etc. I mean, these are the sweet spots that I could find, and would be great if you can, get some value out of this. Obviously I haven't flown everything yet, but my plan is to go to Vietnam and see if I can make the best out of my business class experience that I had to Singapore and extend it to Vietnam as well.
Awesome. So I think what will be fun now is we should in all our podcasts so far we've gone ahead and we talked about these redemptions. Today I think we can take it a step ahead and we can show people how to actually redeem these points and what these experiences look like, what these experiences cost like. So for that, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and once I share my screen, we'll load up Singapore Airlines website and we'll run a few searches and we'll give you a sense of what it costs in the form of miles, what it costs in the form of taxes, and you will see 3 points and miles nerds or geeks just talk about all of this stuff and then share our perspectives with you. So with that, let me share my screen. All right, so this is Singapore Airlines website. And if you come here, you will see that there are two options here. There is a book flights option, then there is a redeem flights option. What we're going to do today is we're going to say redeem flights. And in India, Singapore Airlines flies largely two or three types of aircrafts. One is the 787, one is the A350, and one is the A380. Now, from Bangalore, you've got a fantastic A350, but Bombay and Delhi has got A380s. So, what we're going to do is we'll try the first search from Bombay. Say we're saying Bombay. Let's try and go direct to Singapore. So, we say Bombay, Singapore. I'm going to select 6 February. I'm going to make this one way. 6th is my son's birthday. So, we'll just try and run 6th February. And then we'll check for one adult. We'll run a search and we'll see. So, like I said, the Singapore Airlines website is also gorgeous. The UI is amazing. You can come here. So now, like you can see here, there are two fares that you see here. You'll see a saver fare and then you'll see an advantage fare. Now, waitlist is obviously not going to give you a confirmation, but if anybody drops out, then you'll get confirmation. This saver from 43,000 miles, meaning this is available, right? So now there are two flights from Bombay, like you can see. One is at 11:30 in the night. The second one is at 11:50. The 11:50 is on waitlist, so you don't want this. You want this one because this will give you a confirmation. So now, if you're looking at this, let's figure out more details of this flight. So this is Singapore Airlines SQ423. This is an Airbus A380. The total travel time is 5 hours 25 minutes, and what's going to cost you is 43,000 miles plus 1,437 rupees taxes. So again, very negligible taxes, and you're in for a 5-hour treat on an A380. So that's how you go ahead and book.
So Adil, one thing here, I was when the first time I tried this, I
Mhm.
mean, I was shocked by the taxes.
Yeah,
It's a surprisingly low tax, right? Just for reference, when you fly Bombay to Delhi or Bombay to Bangalore on Vistara, you
yeah,
pay almost 1,000 rupee taxes,
yeah.
right? So like amazing.
So it's a very efficient system. And so let's go a little more deeper, right? So I'm sure the people who are like tuning in here, they're like, okay, 43,000 points, that's great. 1,500 rupees taxes, we'll pay that out. But what are we getting? And I want to kind of show you here what the business class is like, right? So I've kind of loaded the screen here to kind of show you what the experience is like. So you see this lady sitting, chilling here. That's your business class seat. It's a fairly spacious seat, right? If you think about it, and it folds into this amazing bed, and the air hostesses and the pursers, they'll come and they'll make your bed, and this is exactly what it looks like. So it goes fully 180 degrees, and you can sleep really, really peacefully. It's got hand stitched leather. It's got all kinds of support. You can lounge, you can sit and work, you can sleep, you can do whatever you want. Another thing that I really, really like is when you're flying as a couple. So SQ-A380 has this beautiful divider in the center, which they call the personal divider. And they say if you want to be alone, then you pull the divider up. So let's say if someone who you don't know is traveling with you, you have it up and you enjoy your privacy. But let's say if you're traveling with your partner, then you can put the whole thing down, and you can almost have, like, both of you sitting together, and you start lounging, you then
Yeah,
have your meal, then you chill in the plane, and you have a good time.
awesome.
From here, I think then, the other thing that I like is I also call SQ-A380 your office in the sky. I call it your office in the sky because it has multiple storage compartments. You don't necessarily need to put your laptop bag on top. It has space for you, so you can tuck your laptop bag underneath. You remove your laptop, and in case you feel like working, or you have work, or you're doing a business trip, you've got your laptop among arm's reach. On business class, you have free Wi-Fi on Singapore Airlines, so you can use that, and you can just work. It's not very great for media consumption. Like, don't try using YouTube, it's not going to work. But something like a Google Spreadsheets or a Google Docs works well, email works well, and then if you want to use Instagram and stuff, that absolutely works well as well. Finally, they've got a great in-flight entertainment system as well. It's a beautiful 18-inch touchscreen monitor, which has got 1,000 plus entertainment options, and you've got a good collection of Bollywood movies, right from the Yashraj era all the one to the all with the latest ones as well. Very good lighting if you are the types who likes to enjoy a good book, so you can open up your book and you can browse, and then absolutely treat your taste buds, right? They have a digital flight menu, you can look at the menu, and it's got some fantastic meal options that you can pre-book as well. And we'll come to those meal options. I'll show you some of the stuff that I really, really like. But let's see, Dhimanth, Ameya, any comments here, or we can try maybe another redemption search, and then we can come to the first class experience. and
Yeah,
from
Adil.
there potentially move to other experiences.
So, Adil, two things. One, I feel you spoke about the entertainment system. I just want to double down on this, right? So, probably one of the best entertainment systems that I've experienced across the board, right? And also, obviously, maybe even Emirates had a good one. But what I've seen is Emirates doesn't have the same entertainment system when flying the India to Dubai route, right? Or so, hence, I think for me, the Singapore experience is quite good. In fact, they also had a great sports, live sports coverage, etc. That's one. Second thing, Adil, I wanted to like quickly understand this because a lot of time people when they want to travel business, like me, for example, I struggle to get three seats, right? So you done with a family of four, right? Like, can you also show us if this can be done for a larger family? I don't want to travel alone. Like, is that possible?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I have done, like Dhimanth said, last year in April, it was me, my wife, and my two boys. So we were a family of four, and we were able to get a seat. Now, obviously, sometimes you'll get lucky. You'll get it like in a quick window, like in a month, a month from now. But oftentimes, you got to plan 6 8 months out. Like for example, I planned it 8 9 months out, and I was able to get it. But we'll run a search. So let's try Bangalore. And let's try the A350. So that I want to show you like what the A350 experience is also like. So let's say Bangalore to Singapore, and then let's look at maybe 19th of Feb, and then let's come here and let's do two adults, and let's do so three adults and one kid because my son is a little over 12. Run this search. You should have a couple of flights that come in just a jiffy. There you go. So you've got a waitlist fare
Oh,
on the first
nice.
one, and then you've got the saver fare. Now, you see, we're recording this podcast in January, but I'm showing you availability that is there in Feb. So
Nice.
within a month from now, if you look and you search, there will be options that you should be able to find. Now, this is an A350, and if you see the number of mileage requirement is same, but if you remember the taxes amount, it changes slightly. So, for example, from Bangalore to Singapore, the tax is a little different. If you
Yeah.
see this, it's about 11,900. Let's round it up to 12K. So it comes to 3K per person.
3K, yeah,
Right?
correct.
But from Bombay, it was 1,500. Now, this is a combination of airport duties, levies, routes, slots, a bunch of these different things. So taxes will be variable, and you got to kind of keep that in mind. But the mileage requirement remains the same. Now,
I
let's
think
talk.
Delhi is also on the lower side, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember Dhimanth, but we can run a search and check. In fact,
Perfect.
we'll figure that out. Why don't we do the next search for Delhi, and then we'll figure it out so that we know, and then the viewers know as well.
Sure.
So now, here, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the A380 business class, which Singapore calls the regional business class. They call the regional business class for two products, which is their 787 product and for their A350 product. Now, this picture that you see on the top right, that's the A380 picture that you're A350 picture that you're seeing. And it's a very cool picture. So this one, like you see on the right, that's your A350. It's a brand new aircraft, two seats in the center, one on either side. It's a one-to-one configuration, great window seat options, and you've got two options where you're either sitting next to the window or you've got your placeholder kind of next to the window, so you can choose. Um, it's a great way to kind of work again, much like the A380. You've got an integrated reading light. The entertainment system is very similar. It's spectacular. Really, really good fine dining, right? You've got Wi-Fi on board, and overall, I think it's a great experience. It's slightly narrower when compared to the A380, but overall, absolute bang for your buck. One of the best A350 experiences in the sky. I am eager to try the new Emirates A350 experience that just launched. But otherwise, my favorite A350 experience in the sky till now is SQ.
Got it.
With this, I think let's do a Delhi redemption, right? Like Dhimanth was saying. So what we'll do is, and let's try and do first class.
First class, yeah.
This is like a fun redemption, right? So let's say Delhi to Singapore, and let's try and say, let's say 13 February. And then let's bring this down to one. So first class, you will never ever find redemptions available for four people. In my experience, I have never seen it till date. I have seen two, and I've been able to do and book an experience. And me and my wife have traveled together from Narita Airport all the way to Singapore. It's a 7.5 hour flight on the 777 on their first class. So it's not the suites product; it's the first class product. It's a fantastic experience again.
So
But
Adil,
let's
it's like getting into, if you get the first class, it's like getting into the IIM Ahmedabad, right? ले लो seat जब भी मिली
Oh
तो
yeah,
मिली.
पहले ले लो यार. Or my scene was even more crazy, Dhimanth, because I had confirmed business tickets. Okay, so my business redemption was Narita, Singapore, Singapore, Bangalore. Okay, but like हम सारे points वालों को खुजली होती है. You keep wanting to check because you are an eternal optimist, right? And you know that if somehow you get that SQ first, which is hard to find for a couple, then it just kind of elevates it to the next level. So now I am now in I am now in Narita in Tokyo. It's one day before I'm flying out, and I happen to just randomly open up my SQ app and I check availability by tomorrow. Are two seats on first by any chance available? Luckily, they were available. Now I've been checking this for like 7 months till that date. Not available. I have confirmed business tickets which are booked, and now I checked again and it's available. I instantly said, how do I do this? Now I couldn't do it online, which is why in Japan, now what I did was I used my phone. Luckily, I had an unlimited calling plan from Airtel. So I called the Singapore Airlines customer care and I said, guys, I'm flying on business, but I see two seats available. Can you please change? Now we had to do a few things. One, the flight that I was originally booked on was from Haneda Airport.
Yeah.
This one was from Narita Airport. So they had to change that. That one was in the morning. This one was in the evening. I was fine in the evening because it gave me more time in Tokyo. Secondly, now because it lands late in Singapore, then my connection changes. So therefore, they had to check availability in business on the connecting flight. Now, luckily, I had done my homework and I saw that there was availability, luckily, for two people on that flight. So I called them with everything prepped, and it took me a 1.5 hour on the phone with them to get this done. My wife is like, what's happening? I was like, you go shopping. I will see you after 2.5 hours. I said, पता नहीं क्या होगा, and didn't tell her कि ये सब हो रहा है. I was like, I have some work. Please continue without me. I will join you for lunch after 2.5 hours. 1.5 hour में, she asked me for my credit card details. She asked me my authentication. We did everything. We booked it. I was so excited. I was traveling for the first time in my life, Singapore Airlines, first class, and that was absolutely worth it. Let's talk about why it was worth it. So let's come to first suites.
Yeah, Ameya, I want to share one trivia with Ameya, right? I mean, I'm not surprised by what Adil is telling us, right? Because when you went for the F1 experience, Adil was like, I met Adil at the hotel room, and I was like, okay, awesome. Like, you seems like a big F1 buff, and he's like, huh, but I just came because I got a first class seat. And okay, and I was like,
I was
कौन है
actually
ये?
wondering, like, I didn't think Adil was so much into F1. I knew he was, he
No, and
liked
he was
it.
like very casually telling me, नहीं मुझे सीट मिल गया तो मैं आ गया. मैंने बोला ओके ठीक है. Like okay, मतलब
देखो, like you said, right, ये IIM Ahmedabad हार्वर्ड टाइप का मोमेंट है, राइट? अगर मिल रहा है तो ले लो, फिर फ्यूचर में कब मिलेगा मालूम नहीं. And then secondly, what Dhimant was gracious enough saying that, boss, if you're coming to Singapore, crash in my room and then I'll make you see the F1 race from my room. I was like, ये तो no brainer है यार, मतलब who's going to say no to this?
सोने पे सुहागा.
So absolutely, like you said, right? Why not? ये तो पक्का करना ही है. And then this, like they say, Seema Taparia on Netflix says the stars aligned. And when the stars aligned, you kind of go and make this happen. So चलो ये करते हैं. Delhi, Singapore, 13 February, and then first one adult. Let's run a search. And now when you come here, again, when it loads in a second, you will see that this is an A380. There is a saver fare available for 58,500. There's an advantage also available at 98,000. Now, what you'll also see is, एक दिन अगर आप पहले ट्राई करोगे तो सेवर अवेलेबल नहीं है, एडवांटेज अवेलेबल है for 98,000, which is on 12th February. So now, if you want to come into these details, I'm going to click here.
Sir,
And then the
sir,
details should
आपने
come
जो
up.
अभी बोला ना, whatever you said, remember the date is just one day before Valentine's Day. Somebody is still planning and seeing this podcast.
Arey, I'll give you even better hack. And Dhimanth, this is thanks to your research only. Bombay, Singapore, there is 14th February ko one seat available. In case your girlfriend is in Singapore. or you want to go to Singapore and surprise her,
Let's call it a
book that
Valentine's
seat.
special episode.
बुक दैट सीट बिकॉज 14th वैलेंटाइंस डे को मिलना बहुत मुश्किल है, लेकिन बॉम्बे से 14th फरवरी को अवेलेबल है. सो breaking this down, this is the A380 from Delhi. It's a sweet saver fare, 58,500. And this is, for the points and miles geeks, I'm just saying, अगर आपके पास थोड़े miles extra है, इंस्टेड ऑफ स्पेंडिंग 43,000, 16,500 एक्स्ट्रा डाल दो, 58.5 कर दो, एंड फ्लाई फर्स्ट क्लास. इट इज अ फीलिंग दैट यू विल नेवर
Yeah,
फॉरगेट.
it's not that much more expensive. Eh?
It's
58,000
a
for this
very small
experience
delta.
is insane.
अरे dude, the jump from economy to business is higher, right?
Hmm.
मतलब, I mean, there you can give it a thought if you want, but ये तो no brainer है.
एग्जैक्टली. और अगर आप टैक्सेस देखो, लाइक धीमंत सेड, इट्स वेरी सिमिलर टू बॉम्बे. 1300 रुपया टैक्स है यार. सो आई वुड से, इफ यू वांट टू फ्लाई फर्स्ट क्लास इन योर लाइफ वंस, राइट, do the SQ. There are two others that are very close to my heart that you should also do, which is the Etihad apartment. Uske upar agar, if you want to arrive in life, try the residence. And then obviously the Emirates first class is like a special experience as well. But this is absolute tops. Now, why is it tops? Let's come to this. This is Singapore Airlines Suites. I'm not messing around. Like you see this gentleman using the iPad, you will have your own small tablet, like you can see towards his left, it's right here. You will have this seat that revolves 360 degrees in your suite. You have a fully reclining bed that is made for you. You will have these amazing pajamas and flight wear given to you that you can change into. You've got, if you'd like to fly as a couple and if you're able to find two seats, do this. Imagine a double bed in the sky, right? And two seats, and then a double bed in the sky. It is epic. Remember, if you want to experience this, then always pick either 1A and 2A together, or 1F and 2F together, because those are the only seats in first class that can be combined. The other thing about SQ that I really like is you can just close the sliding door, and you have your privacy, and you can tell the air hostess, I do not want to be disturbed. Nobody's going to disturb you. You have your private space on your own terms. It's like a 1 BHK in the sky, in my opinion. It's like really that good. Imagine a 32-inch HD screen with Bang& Olufsen noise cancelling headphones in the sky. So you're sitting on your bed, aram se, you're chilling, and you're watching a movie. It's like an incredible experience. And then this is like the cabin, right? So all the doors are closed for privacy, nobody knows what's happening inside. And then fine dining redefined. It's like next level fine dining. So when I'm saying fine dining, there's a very cool feature for business and first class passengers called Book the Cook. Now the menus are different, obviously, but first class will, let me tell you why it is such an incredible experience. So you have different cuisines that you can choose from: Western, Singaporean, Malay, Indian, Asian, wholesome, meatless. Now, in the Western, if you're flying Japan by any chance, and if you're flying from Tokyo to Japan, Tokyo to Singapore, or from Singapore to Tokyo, or Osaka and Singapore, please do, if you enjoy this, if you enjoy a great tenderloin, and if you want to experience Wagyu, do order this. Um, by the way, a good Wagyu steak in Japan is nothing less than 18,000 rupees. You are getting this for free on an SQ experience in first class. If you enjoy seafood and if you enjoy lobster, if you're a fan of French cuisine, absolutely order the lobster thermidor. Now, those of you who enjoy French cuisine will know that this is mixed with cognac and Dijon mustard. Now, the Dijon mustard spice hits you, and that cognac adds that additional flavor. It's made with this rich cream sauce that looks, oh my god, insane. I was not able to order it, unfortunately, because I'm a Muslim and we don't have alcohol, and cognac is a form of alcohol. But I've had this elsewhere. It is stuff of legends. A friend of mine had it. He sent me pictures. I had mad FOMO. Similarly, if you have a kid who's traveling, they have excellent Belgian waffles. If you enjoy a good Benedict, this is legendary. I've tried this. Imagine, who does poached eggs in the sky? Poached eggs are hard to do in a full restaurant itself. They have this lovely spinach, a beautiful brioche, On top of this, you've got smoked salmon and a lovely poached egg on top. With this, they also give you caviar. So for those of you who enjoy caviar, again, this is next level. Duck ragu. If you enjoy duck, and if you enjoy like toasted pine nuts, slightly Arabian kind of flavor with grated cheese, again, this is like a great one. If you enjoy cheeks, this is another one great. In the Singaporean cuisine, for those of you who enjoy chicken rice, this is again like a great option here. Nasi lemak is a great option in Malay. If you enjoy a good laksa, you can order this. But the laksa, just keep in mind the one that they serve in Singapore Airlines, it has both prawn and fish cake. So it'll be a little smelly. So if you like seafood, only then go for this. Uh, they serve by default on Singapore Airlines in business and first class satay as an appetizer. While the chicken is good, their peanut sauce is great. It's a little sweet, but it does taste like
That is
absolutely,
the legendary Singapore Airlines satay. That is the most famous one, right?
absolutely. Bang.
Amay is wondering all this while कि मतलब दारू कौन सा था बताओ ये सब non-veg छोड़ो because Amay eats
No,
only
more
veg.
more with respect to not. I mean, I don't eat meat, so but
Exactly. अब बोलो
And
champagne का
unfortunately, Ameya, I don't have alcohol. So, all that good stuff, I think somebody who indulges once in a while can kind of share on the podcast, but I'm not the expert there.
but important intervention here for all the people listening. Singapore Airlines is not paying us to make this episode. This is just Adil's inner excitement coming out.
200%. But
now
Singapore Airlines, if you're listening and you want to collab, we're here for you. We'll do another episode, right?
now you guys know why I interjected right at the beginning and said कि the guest may be me and Amay, but maybe we are just not the one who is going to geek about food on this episode.
Food and Singapore Airlines, you can't go wrong. But I would say roti jala, don't order. I've tried this. What happens is with roti jala, it's a bread that needs to be crispy. But because they are flying in the sky, right? When it's by the time it's served to you, it's kind of soggy. The crispiness is sort of gone. The curry is great, but you'll not be very happy with the roti itself. Um, the Nazi lemak is great, but again, the Nazi lemak, it has a lot of seafood, might be slightly smelly for those of you who like absolutely no smell and you want clean flavors. So then the Nazi lemak is not for you. Really good Indian options. You've got a good twist of Singapore's Nazi biryani, or you can have a roti paratha. Roti paratha, I think, is not really Indian. It's sort of like Malay Indianish. But if you like that, you can go for it. A lot of good Asian options. So again, if you want to have a great wagyu in Japanese style, then the wagyu yakinuku is great. It's like this really good dish which is grilled amazingly, and then it's served with this amazing set of vegetables and really good rice. So if you want some carbs, then absolutely go for the yakinuku. If you like teriyaki, which is slightly sweet, then you got a lovely sibas that they'll serve you with this, and along with this, they also serve you dashi soup. So that's really good as well. And then you've got a couple of meatless options, which I have not tried, so this is not my expertise. But then you can't go wrong with a cheese ravioli, right? Especially when it comes to ricotta cheese ravioli. I think my wife tried this, and she tried this because this was inspired by Matt Moran, and we're fans of MasterChef, and we've seen Matt Moran there, and we tried this. I took a bite; it was bang on. But that's Book the Cook. You've got incredible gourmet dining at this 35,000 feet, which is what makes this experience super super special.
Yeah, but
Uh,
two things here. I think one is just a note for people who are going to try this probably and going to fly soon. The flight from India may or may not have all the options available.
that is
So
correct.
if you don't get disappointed when you don't see some of the exotic dishes that Adil is mentioning, do also look at the Singapore leg. Some of these options. This we realized when I was actually flying and I was trying to book some of the dishes and realized कि वो नहीं था. That is one. Second thing is like a phenomenal point, right, Adil? I mean, why do they not talk about this? Like when I'm booking a business class, I don't know I'm booking all this, right? And again, there's a good chance that if people haven't spoken to somebody like you or somebody like or haven't seen this podcast, they are gonna just end up going and getting whatever. For example, when we went recently, there was a thali available on the flight, and like okay,
Yes.
and like
And
okay,
that is the thali is curated by Chef Sanjeev Kapoor.
Correct. Exactly. But still, I mean, I wouldn't have gone and had a look at Book the Cook. Even on the app, it's not so well highlighted that ye must try hai. So like that is one thing which I would have expected them to talk about a lot, right? Easily carries a premium to what you would pay otherwise.
एक और काम करते हैं, ठीक है, अभी और थोड़ी मस्ती करते हैं एसक्यू के साथ. आई एम गेटिंग एक्साइटेड बाय दिस. सो यू नो अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स.
Hey, Adil, but Adil, before you go ahead, I don't know what you have in mind, but at least we spoke about few other sectors, right? थोड़ा सा सिंगापुर से बाहर निकलते हैं यार. Like let's talk
ठीक है,
about a little bit about Australia if you can help us, or US. Like हर कोई सिंगापुर नहीं जाना चाहता है.
बिल्कुल. सो व्हाई डोंट वी ट्राई टू सर्च दिस. एक न्यूजीलैंड करते हैं क्योंकि लॉन्ग सेक्टर है, मजा आएगा. और फिर अपन ऑस्ट्रेलिया भी ट्राई करते हैं और फिर यूएस भी ट्राई करते हैं.
हाँ, ऑस्ट्रेलिया करते हैं. नेक्स्ट बीजीटी के लिए अकॉर की होटल बुक करेंगे. विल फ्लाई वाया सिंगापुर एयरलाइंस टू ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड वॉच अ टेस्ट मैच देयर विद इंडिया पार्टिसिपेटिंग. लेट्स
परफेक्ट.
प्लान.
तो I know Dhimant will either book M Gallery or Sofitel, or Swissotel rather, because those are his two favorites. And flights will figure this out. So let's try this. Let's try Bangalore to Auckland, ACK.
वो ब्यूटीफुल स्टेडियम इन ऑकलैंड मैन.
AKL
Okay.
is Auckland, and let's do 16 March. 16 मार्च करते हैं. एंड यू नो अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स पीपल टेल मी, आदिल यार फैमिली के साथ जाना है, कैसे करेंगे? एक सीट मिलता है, दो सीट मिलता है, चार सीट नहीं मिलते हैं. तो लेट्स सी. सो यहाँ पे हम चार एडल्ट्स के लिए रन करेंगे ये सर्च, and then let's go ahead and run that search. Bangalore, Auckland, and we're running this search for March, right? There you go. You've got savers there available for 92,500 points, right? So भाई ढूंढने पर भगवान नहीं मिलते हैं, ये क्यों नहीं मिलेगा, right? So if you think about it, you click on more details. This is Bangalore, 11 p.m. in the night, reaches Singapore at 6 in the morning. Is the A350, which is a fantastic product, and then you'll connect with a 2.5 hour layover in Singapore, which is very, very comfortable. And again, you'll be on the A350. Both are brand new products. And if you click on this, what's going to happen is it's going to be 3.7 lakh miles, but it's not 3.7 lakh miles for one person. Remember, it's 92,000 into 4. That's how it becomes this. And then obviously, because you're doing a long haul sector, remember that the taxes will be a lot higher. So if you do the math, that is how the taxes will kind of show a definitely marked increase. Now, you will also see that there's another advantage fare. Sometimes, you know, if you're not able to get the saver fare, the advantage fare. And you know, what's also cool is if you see, the saver fare is also available for 17th March. The advantage fare is also available for 15th March. So, you know, continuously from Saturday 15th all the way to Wednesday 19th, there are these fares available, of which two fares are available on 16th and 19th March. अब इसमें one of the things that you can do, which very interestingly Dhimanth and Ameya both talked about, is adding stopovers, right? So let's say you want to stopover in Singapore. Singapore Airlines makes it very easy. You can just click this button, add stopover, and then you can click this button again which says add stopover, and then you say select the city, which is Singapore, and then you say I want to stop in Singapore, which is 16th of March, and then I want to depart, let's say the next day. ठीक है, मेरे को 17th को निकलना है, and I'll do a 24-hour stopover in Singapore, and I say confirm. So now let's just go through the workflow and see how seamless it is that Singapore Airlines makes this for you to plan your entire itinerary. And there, what it's showing is, it is showing you an advantage fare. So remember what Dhimant and Ameya told you, right? Dhimant and Ameya told you that if you select a one-way fare, which is Bangalore to Auckland with a stopover, then you can only do a stopover on an advantage fare. But if you are doing return, then on return you can definitely get it for a saver fare one way. So now if you go to these details, you will see that this flight goes and it reaches here, and then it leaves from here, and then it reaches here. So there you go. Those are details. So this is your first flight that you'll have to select, obviously. So you'll have to select one of these first flights, and then you select your flight, and then it asks you to select your next flight. So when you come here, you select your next flight, which is one of these. You've got these two flights that you can take depending on what works for you. One's at 8:45 in the morning, one is at midnight. Let's say I selected 8:45 in the morning. You're sorted. You know, the miles go up, the taxes remain the same. Instead of 92 and a half, it went up to 125K. Okay, so there you go. Those are the differences that you will see across these sectors.
Okay, so Adil, just clarifying, right? So you are basically move from one three A350 to another 3A50, and both of them are business for the entire journey, right? So
Correct.
for four people.
That is correct.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, availability is like pretty nice. And fine, granted, it is from Singapore, but yeah, four people business is
I think
No, no,
Ameya,
it's from Bangalore.
yeah, yeah.
Bangalore Auckland.
yeah,
Business is
four people
crazy.
business is great, and especially and it's consistently available across the week is like I think a big deal. Yeah.
Problem
Yeah,
is
and
first.
remember, it's just 2 months from now, right? I'm not talking like
Hmm.
October.
Hmm.
I'm talking March. So, of course, if you have a particular day saying that I have to fly on the 2nd of March only, then obviously it's hard, right? In the world of miles and points, you got to be flexible, and you should be open to that. Otherwise, I mean, if you really want to fly on the date that you want, then maybe you'll have to buy revenue or potentially whatever makes sense for you.
Perfect. I think let's try Australia as well.
ठीक है तो चलो सिडनी करते हैं चेन्नई से करते हैं सो लेट्स सी चेन्नई
Yeah.
and let's do SYD, and then let's do one way, and let's try maybe let's go to March again. Let's pick 16th. Let's say done, and then let's connect business and let's say search. So there you go. It's loading up. Give me a second, and here you go. So you've got multiple flights here. You've got all of these, but one of these is saver and it's available. So MA, it's at 11:25 in the night. It's a Boeing 787, like I said, is the regional business class that you will get here. And it reaches Singapore at 6 in the morning. It's a 1 hour layover, and then you've got an 8 hour flight to Sydney, and that's on the A350.
If you're somebody like me, you're going to pick this. If you're somebody like Adil, you're still going to go check Delhi, check Bombay, see if there's a first class available, and then you're going to try and make the booking, isn't it?
No, no. See, first class. I'm not saying that you do it all the time. I'm saying you do it once so that you experience it, right?
Yeah,
And then
makes
next time onwards, if you have the miles, Delta bahut kam hai from Delhi and Bangalore, right? So might as well. But otherwise, business is a fantastic product. There's no need to go beyond it. But just saying, like, if you're getting it for 14,000 miles, then why not? The heart wants what it wants, Dhimanth.
Also, the
perfect.
second leg is 350 itself, right? As far as I know, the ones that go to Sydney are all 350s.
Yeah, yeah. All the long legs are 350s. The shorter ones are on the 787s. And here, the one thing that you will notice, the taxes are close to 5K. But again, this is like a fantastic redemption, right? I mean, SQ, what you're guaranteed is quality, and 92,500 is like fantastic for like a 12-hour flight, right? And you get to experience, but not on this leg. I would ideally choose something like this one, because now it's not available, but I'll run a few other searches, and I would like to experience this one. One, because this is an A380. The second, because it's a 3 hour layover time. I want to spend some time in the Singapore airport. They have this iconic Louis Vuitton showroom, right? In the Singapore Terminal
Yeah.
3, and it's got an aquarium. Now, I'm not a luxury fan of buying stuff like Louis Vuitton, but it is like a 20 feet high aquarium right in front, and you can't just stand by and admire the beauty. Also, I have a special thing for the KrisFlyer lounge, and if you're flying the first class in Singapore Airlines from Singapore, you can experience what they call the private room. Now, the private room has exceptional fine dining, one of the best I've ever had in my life. They also have, if you're tired, they have 4 bedrooms where you can go and you can request for a bedroom. They'll give you a key. You go open up that bedroom. It's got a desk where you can work. It's got a queen size bed where you can just go and crash. And you can use it for as long as you like. So if you have an 8 hour layover, or you can come in early to the airport and you can just crash there. So you kind of save hotel money or whatever. And it's just an experience to be cherished.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's try another one. So we said, okay, what all have we done today? So we started with Delhi redemption. We started with Bangalore redemption. We did a Bombay redemption. We did a Delhi redemption. We did a Chennai redemption. Let's try Hyderabad redemption as well,
Yeah,
right?
but let's try to the US now
Yeah, let's
because
do like West
that's
Coast or something.
Yeah, so let's do Hyderabad, West Coast, San Francisco. So
yeah.
San Francisco karte hain. Let's look at sometime in May. I think this should be available. Let's look at 12th May. Let's do business. Let's run a search. So we are checking from Hyderabad to San Francisco, business class in Singapore Airlines, 16th, 12th of May for one person. And let's see. So there you go. You have multiple flight options available. Everything's on waitlist. One of those is definitely available. And like you see, it's available on 12th May. It's also available on 11th May. So what is this? Let's go into the details. It's going to cost you 123,000 miles. It's Hyderabad, Singapore on the 737 MAX, and then Singapore to San Francisco on the A350. Now, this is a 16-hour flight. You will really, really appreciate the hospitality and the product that is built on the A350 in the sky for 16 hours. I think there are two flights that I feel are like the best in the world, top of the line. One of them has to be Emirates on their business product, and the second has to be Singapore Airlines. It doesn't get better than this. And just look at this, right? When it is 123,000 miles and 5,000 tax, it's very hard to get better redemptions than this in such quality airlines. Now, sure, you can like do other redemptions like Star Alliance, Air India, and all of that, but SQ Hospitality is legendary.
This is
I think,
also not very expensive. Like you, even if you do like say for example an Air India kind of a redemption, probably the best you can get for business is what? Maybe Air Canada, 110K. This is
uh,
120K.
90K में हो जाएगा अमेया.
Depends, no? If you are
Yeah,
able to. Yeah.
yeah. If you're able to, like Bombay मिल जाएगा,
Yeah, Bombay and Delhi,
Hyderabad
but
नहीं
those
मिलेगा.
planes are anyway
Bombay
shipped.
and Delhi you will get 90K, but
No,
you're right. Hyderabad will be slightly more
Yeah.
expensive.
no, but I think थोड़ा सा ये भी है ना कि like I always keep saying that when you're traveling with a family, knowing that you're traveling with one of the airlines who's going to take care of you matters a lot from a mental health perspective also, right? You're like, okay, I have one vacation in a year I'm taking with my family. I want to ensure nothing goes wrong, right? So that from that lens, I think Singapore makes a lot of sense. It's not only about the miles sometimes, right? It's also about mental peace of mind.
Yeah, bang on. I think that's a great point, Dhimant. And for those who like want to also try other products, let's say you've tried SQ enough and you want to try other products. You know, SQ is part of Star Alliance, so maybe we can do one more redemption here, right? So we've done the West Coast. Let's try the East Coast. So East Coast हम लोग try करते हैं. Let's say we'll do Bombay and we'll do SFO because like Ameya said, right? Bombay
Yes,
East
SFO
Coast you want
or
to do, no?
JFK,
JFK.
New York.
Bombay, sorry, JFK because it is East Coast, right? JFK करते हैं, Bombay JFK करते हैं. Let's do Bombay JFK and let's pick a date. Let's say we
Bangalore.
do keep it 12th May. Uh, sorry, Dhimanth, you were saying?
I was saying Bangalore JFK try कर सकते हैं, but yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Star Alliance should be, I guess, similar. I guess we'll get better connectivity from Bombay, but let's see.
So like Ameya was saying, right? Air Canada pe you can get Bombay JFK for 90,000 points, but you'll fly Air India. But you'll have to book through Aeroplan.
Correct.
So now what we'll try and do is we'll see Bangalore, New York, 12th of May, one adult, and we'll see if SQ throws us options. Let's see what we've got. So now what you can see here is all of these are on waitlist, but you've got one option available here, right? You've got a saver available here, which is Bangalore, Singapore, Singapore, Frankfurt, Frankfurt, New York. Now this is going to be on A350. This is going to be on an A380. This is going to be on a 777. So now for those of you who are hardcore aviation geeks and nerds, you want to try all three SQ legendary aircrafts.
Perfect flight.
So what do you fly? Right? Now the layover time, of course, in Frankfurt is a little more, so you might want to be mindful for that. But the other thing that you can also do in SQ is you can click here. So like you can see, all the flights it's showing here, right, are for Singapore Airlines. They have a very cool feature where you can also run a search for Star Alliance Airlines. And when you run a search for Star Alliance Airlines, it will show that you've got nothing available. In this case, what you're going to do is you're going to try and run a similar search, but let's say for a different destination to see if this is available. So इस बार try करते हैं, let's say Bombay SFO,
Perfect.
and we'll run this search for 12th May, and we'll run this for business class. Now what it's going to do is instead of Singapore Airlines metal, we'll check on Star Alliance. And now, if you see, look at this. This is beautiful, right? You've got four different options here on four different combinations of aircrafts. So it's 137,500 miles plus 5,000 taxes. But here you will get to fly Air India 179, which is a direct aircraft from Bombay to San Francisco. So there's no layover, there's no nothing. It's a 16-hour direct aircraft. Now let's look at the other one. Now, if you want the other one, this does Bombay, Delhi, Delhi, San Francisco, right? Now, this is again direct from Delhi, but that's an option if you want to experience just the A320 Neo, which is fairly standard, but no need. There's another one which is again Bombay, Delhi, Delhi SFO, and then there's another one which is Bombay, Delhi, Delhi SFO. This is just pairing a bunch of different Air India flights based on availability. But ideally, if you don't want to fly Singapore Airlines, or let's say you say availability is not there of SQ, but you definitely want to use your miles, then you can do this. But instead of doing this first, what I would do is I would check Bombay, San Francisco either on Avianca Life Miles, or I would check that on Aeroplan, because on Aeroplan you'll get it for 90K. And the miles might be approximately similar. But if you already parked your miles in SQ, then I think this is like a much better route.
Yeah, so I think if I were to summarize this, essentially you're saying that maybe for some of the longer haul ones, and especially Star Alliance for sure, I mean, do it only if you just have a lot of miles and you want to get rid of it. But there are
Correct.
better options otherwise.
Absolutely.
Like I
Absolutely.
believe even for economy, you get the US one that were 49,000
Yeah.
on United and 70,000 on Air Canada, 70,000 Air India. Yeah.
No, but Amaya, the other thing is also which again, some of us would have been in that scenario, right? We made forceful transfers to a particular
Correct.
program. So I know somebody who has transferred 3 lakhs to SQ,
Hmm.
right? And he doesn't necessarily want to fly to via Singapore, or let's say he doesn't have those concrete plans like we showed first. I mean, some of these options can help them take another flight which he wants to, right? Or Adil, I think there's also some other options that we can do with those miles. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking right now.
There's a very interesting search that Dhimanth and I were running before this call, which was available, and we'll try and see if we can kind of show here. So let's try Dubai to London Gatwick, right? So let's say London, and let's say London Gatwick, and then with this, let's try and say 11th May, which is about a few months from now, and let's say business class, and let's say run a search. Now, obviously, if you run a search for SQ metal, this is going to show you there are no airlines available, right? So if you come here to Singapore Airlines, like we are showing, it's going to show that there is nothing available on Singapore Airlines, because that says that the airline doesn't fly technically on that particular route. But now, when you come to Star Alliance, here very interestingly, it's showing you that there is a Star Alliance flight available. Now, the Star Alliance flight available is a very cool one, because if you're seeing the saver availability for this is just 33,500 miles. Now, in 33,500 miles, what you're getting is Dubai to Istanbul and Istanbul to London Gatwick, right? And you'll get to experience the 777, and then they have an Airbus 321. By the way, Turkish is known for again their food and hospitality. They have these. They have their pursers who come out with an entire trolley of food, and the way they serve it is just magical. So again, if you've not tried Turkish Airlines and you don't have Turkish miles, and you have miles parked in SQ, then Dubai to London, or these fifth freedom flights as
Hey,
we call
this
them.
There's
uh,
a
this was even supposed to be like, if Amaya correct me if I'm wrong, this was supposed to be 29 sometime back. It moved to 33 or something. It was even cheaper at one point of time. It's amazing, right?
yeah.
33,500 is an insane value.
There's also some very nice ones. I believe there is a Frankfurt, New York, that you can get at a good deal.
Let's try
Um,
that. Frankfurt.
that's a Fifth
have you run
Freedom.
a
It's
search?
a
Do you
proper
know the
Fifth
date?
Freedom. Yeah.
Do you know the date?
I haven't checked recently, but I think so. If I remember, in one of your earlier searches, which you were doing, the Bombay, New York ones, that
There is
one
a
was using this only.
Frankfurt Cape Town that you may want to try, Adil, for
Yeah,
12.
let's try that.
Yeah, I think I was searching this for May 12th May. Just try this.
12th May, Frankfurt, Cape Town,
Two people,
business, right?
two people
Uh,
business,
Sorry?
Two people business.
Oh, two people. Okay,
Yeah.
I've run a search for one. Let's see.
That's okay.
Yeah, there you go. Star Alliance. This is available. Very cool, right? Ethiopian Airlines, Frankfurt to Addis Ababa, and then from Addis Ababa to Cape Town with a layover of 1.5 hours, which is very sweet.
Yeah.
I've never flown Ethiopian Airlines, guys. Any thoughts? Do y'all have you all flown? Have you all have any insights on Ethiopian?
They supposedly have a great soft product, from what I've heard
Okay.
from people.
But again,
Not
if you see, like it's 60,000 miles, and this is good, right? Because it's a 13-hour flight technically. 13 hours ke liye 60,000 is like amazing, right?
You guys have been geeking over this hard product, soft product. यही बता दो लोगों की soft product, hard product में फर्क क्या होता है?
Ameya, go for it.
Ah, well, essentially, hard product is the plane itself, what you get, the comfort of the seats, the broader quality there. Soft product is what the airline brings into you, the hospitality, uh, and so on.
Cool. So this was all the cool stuff that we wanted to show you in terms of how you can redeem stuff, guys.
Cool
And
from geeky for some, Adil.
for sure, for sure. So, guys, what we've shown you so far is all Star Alliance redemptions, not necessarily the Fifth Freedom Flight redemptions, because all of them, like we said, right, from Dubai to London, when you went on Turkish Airlines. Now that it particularly is Star Alliance redemption, but Ameya was doing some research on. The Fifth Freedom route, and like we said, Fifth Freedom route meaning you will fly Singapore Airlines, but you will fly from a destination and land into a destination that does not
Original.
originate in Singapore.
Yeah.
So let's try Bombay to let's sorry not Bombay. So let's try Frankfurt to JFK. So we're gonna go from Frankfurt to JFK. Let's say the 12th of May. Okay, and we'll say done, and then we're gonna say business class, one adult. We're gonna run the search. Now, when we run the search, you see there's this very cool flight which is direct from Frankfurt to JFK, 8 hours flight, Boeing 777, 81,000 miles, right? And it comes to 143 euros in terms of taxes. Now, the cool part is you will fly on Singapore Airlines, so you will experience amazing hospitality. And what you're seeing is, Ameya, Dhiman, this is fantastic discovery, right? This is available for the entire week.
Yeah.
If you
Exactly.
see, fifth
Crazy.
Friday, 9th May, all the way to 15th May, it's a fantastic discovery, right? Frankfurt to JFK, almost like halfway through India, is like 81,000 SQ miles, which is like a fantastic discovery. I think we've covered and had a great time geeking out over how to redeem SQ miles. We've tried a bunch of different sectors. And with this now, let's kind of bring this home. Let's finally talk about tips. Let's talk about tricks. And let's talk about a few hacks. And I'll start with Ameya first, and then I'll come to Dhiman. Ameya, what are common mistakes people make when redeeming KrisFlyer miles, and how do they avoid them?
Sure, common mistakes. I mean, aside from bad redemptions, I think one thing to call out is that Singapore Airlines is generally very strict when it comes to their program, right? So don't try to mess around. Transfer from your account only. Don't try to transfer from a spouse's account, multiple accounts going into a single one. There have been multiple instances in which accounts have just been banned. Don't try to do sneaky things. Play by the rules. Transfer things appropriately. Make sure that your name is correct according to your passport and whatnot. These people take it a little more seriously than a lot of the other FFPs. That is one. The second thing I'll generally say is that in general, for long as your flight route gets longer, you can have other competing FFPs that can get you better value. So with respect to redemptions, I think the best bang for the buck you're going to get with respect to some of the shorter routes doesn't always hold, but I think in general one could say that. The other thing I do want to call out is that there are a number of ways to earn without even flying, and these are things that we often end up overlooking. So I'll call out some very nice ways with respect to which you can double dip, right? So I think the easiest way I will call out is hotel programs. So there are a number of hotel programs in which you can attach your KrisFlyer ID and get additional KrisFlyer miles. So I think some of the more common ones are Marriott. Marriott started it, and about, I think, 1.5 2 years back, in which you could earn KrisFlyer miles for every time you're staying in Marriott in addition to your Marriott points. They often also do promos. I believe last, I think, 2023 and they had like a fast track to gold kind of a promo recently, and this is one that I took as well, which is, I think, I got some additional 500 SQ miles just for signing up for some promo and then doing a stay after that. From an Indian context, one more very useful one is Taj, and this is something that we normally don't really hear about much. It's not very widely advertised. So if you're staying in a Taj property, essentially for every dollar that you spend, you're gonna get two KrisFlyer miles. You don't need to do anything. Just make sure that when you're reserving, just let them know this is my KrisFlyer ID. When you are checking in, let them know this is my KrisFlyer ID, and you're done. Free miles for your stays. It adds up. Similarly, I believe there is Agoda, which is the other one. So if you're booking hotels as a portal elsewhere, Agoda gives you, I think, 2 to 3. I believe it was three KrisFlyer miles for every dollar that you spend. So these are nice ways to passively earn miles without doing much. There is also things like Pelago, which, like, in case you are traveling to Singapore, Pelago is a great way to book these travel experiences and whatnot, and passively you will earn a few miles doing this as well. One very last thing that I will call out is, in case you are booking revenue and you are not booking, through points, you can make use of top cashback. You can get an additional 1 2% depending on whatever is the rate at that point of time back, and that little extra back if you're flying. You'll also earn miles when you're flying when you book revenue.
Yeah, my just a couple of additions here. I think one is you spoke about Pelago. I just want to share my experience, right? So I booked not only one of the cheapest F1 practice tickets using Pelago, I also got like 1500 miles back with Pelago. So what you just said made a lot of sense, right? Also, interestingly, one thing happened with me when I was not into this lot of KrisFlyer collecting points wala zone. I also had, let's say, 3 4,000 KrisFlyer miles, and if you some of you guys are stuck with that, there's another beautiful app in their ecosystem called Kris Plus. I'm not sure if you guys know about it, right? So it is an interchangeable currency between KrisFlyer miles and you can actually use it even for in offline stores in Singapore. So if you're going to Singapore and you have some leftover miles like 4,000 miles, 2,000 miles, which you know that you're not going to use, go to the Kris Plus app. Connect it to your KrisFlyer app, and you can also use that to book some more experiences using that money. It's also useful in some small shops. It's a very interesting ecosystem that Chris has created. I mean, why not take full advantage of it?
I think it's a great call out, Dhiman. That's a very good call out on Chris Plus. Not a lot of people know that. But back to you, Dhiman. Let's talk about any other tips. So we showed our viewers today how to find availability for hard to book for different kind of routes. We showed our viewers how to find availability for certain routes we had in mind today. But there are routes that might be hard to book and premium cabins that people find tough to book. Any tips on finding availability for those?
Yeah, I think you covered it, Adil, and again, you are more experienced in this. But I think my experience I'll share in terms of looking for first class. Like first class in my head, one, try to book in advance. I think that's very critical. Secondly, don't try to book more than two because it's not going to work. I think two is the maximum number of seats, and 90% chances that you will get a single ticket, right? So, if you are one of those guys who wants to kind of experience, like try it out with a single person as well. Also, I think one thing which Adil also mentioned very detailed, right? I kept trying till the last minute while I was flying back to convert my business into first. So sometimes the opportunity opens up. So keep an eye on their app, and I think keep looking at it till the last minute. Sometimes the availability opens up, right? And that's one of the tips that I would surely suggest people to try if they are disappointed that they didn't get that upgrade. By the way, eco to business upgrade is actually far more easier. So if you're stuck with the eco ticket because business wasn't available or it was on wait list, always try. There's a very good probability that you'll get it if you. And also, second thing, always keep miles ready in your account. You're not going to get the time to transfer it later, so expect that there could be a possible upgrade that can happen and keep those miles. Otherwise, you'll have to burn Amex points, which is going to be painful, right? So this is the 2 3 things other I can think for. And for difficult sectors, I mean, we saw it today, right? I mean, business is not that difficult to find, right? So as long as you have a 3 month window, I think you should be able to get it little bit flexibility on the dates may be required.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great call out, Dhiman. In fact, I think we'll show another tool quickly for people. If you want to figure out how many miles are required to go from a sector to sector, I think you can use the miles calculator that is available on SingaporeAir.com. So let's say you can come here. Let's say you want to go from, let's say, Bangalore all the way to, for example, London and LHR. And if you can say one way, and then you can come here and you can say business, you say calculate, it'll quickly tell you that a saver ticket is 116K, an advantage ticket is 154K. Similarly, let's say, like Demon said, right, there could be a case of upgrade, and let's say you are currently booked, let's say, in Bombay to Singapore. Let's say, let's do that. And let's say you are in economy, but you want to upgrade to premium economy. So you could quickly calculate that. And it says that if you are in economy flexi, then you'll need 14,000 miles. But if you're in economy standard, then you'll need 22,000 miles. So these are the fare classes, and these will be printed on your ticket. These denote what is the class of fare. Okay. Similarly, let's say if you are in business, let's say that you want to upgrade to first class. And that is where you can come and see. So then it says that if you're on economy or premium economy, you can't upgrade to first. You can only jump one level above. And therefore, if you are on a business standard fare, then the saver fare for that is going to be 35,500. Business flexi, same. So nothing kind of changes here. So this is a good mileage calculator that you can use for redemption, upgrade, or even to earn KrisFlyer miles. So let's say you're flying from Bangalore to Singapore and you want to know how many flights you will earn if you do a return flight by flying economy on revenue. Then it shows that, if on a flexi ticket you'll earn this, on a standard ticket you'll earn this, value you'll earn this, and economy. Similarly, in premium economy, obviously you'll higher, business it goes higher, and first obviously you'll earn the most. So this I think is like a good calculator that people can see.
Adil, because you showed this, it's great that you showed this, because one more realization I had, and maybe I'm wrong here, but Seats.aero doesn't show up KrisFlyer as an option, right? So, knowing the ecosystem of KrisFlyer is very helpful if you really want to make the best use out of it, because I couldn't find at least Seats.aero पे Singapore Airlines का availability.
Yeah, a lot of times, what also happens is that's a great point, Dhiman. So, a lot of times, even on the partner tool or on the Star Alliance tool, you will see something not turning up for Singapore Airlines.
Yeah.
This is when I think calling SQ really, really helps. And all miles and points geeks understand that it takes a bit of work. So it will take you about 15-20 minutes to connect to the app. They'll take some time to search. So you got to put in the work. Don't shy away from making calls. And when you do that, you will suddenly notice that a seat opened up, because most people check on the web, they don't call. And I think this is a great call out that not only sometimes aggregator tools like PointsMe, Seats Arrow, they sometimes don't show availability. But searching direct always is like the best way and the most effective way. Ameya, let's come to you. Let's talk about the future of frequent flyer programs like KrisFlyer, right? Of late, you've seen the rise of dynamic pricing. What's your advice? How should viewers, points and miles geeks, look at programs like KrisFlyer? What should you keep in mind? What are your thoughts on dynamic pricing? Break it down for us.
Sure. I'm personally not a fan of dynamic pricing, but I think if you do want to geek out around it, it does create opportunities where you're able to probably spot those, few deals where you're able to get that little bit of extra value out. So I think it opens up opportunities for sure. And I think it's important to, yeah, do your research properly, figure out whether you're able to use it. And I think with KrisFlyer, it becomes even more important that one is able to take advantage of some of the features of the program to get exceptional value. Things like your stopovers. Definitely, I think there is definitely value to be had, especially for things like business class. I think it can still work out and trump a lot of programs
Okay,
that are
but
out there.
Amay, I think like I have a point of view here, right? I feel that dynamic pricing also solves for a critical problem where availability is a problem, right? So dynamic pricing ka algorithms are built in such a way that most of the times, even if you go to the last minute, you will end up finding a seat. Happened with me when I was traveling to Italy. Flying Blue had an availability, even though it was expensive than the standard. miles requirement, but still I was able to book via miles, right? So for in my head, I think dynamic pricing generally helps in that sense. But yeah, I mean, obviously one would prefer the fixed program because it always gives you peace of mind.
No, definitely. I mean, if I were an airline, I would definitely do dynamic pricing. I'd get towards that. It's beneficial for me. As a consumer, I'd like to think I'd prefer the fixed fares.
Yeah, got
Fixed
it.
fares, like even not just fixed fares, but I mean, I love some of the programs which have these distance-based mileages. I think
Like Jal,
those are the
probably.
best, like Jal and yeah.
Yeah. No, but see, for a family of four or three who doesn't get availability for four seats, sometimes they would be okay with the dynamic pricing as long as they're getting availability.
Yeah,
That's
fair
how.
enough. I think on that point, I definitely agree.
All right, time to bring this home, gentlemen. Let's say someone's got a stash of KrisFlyer miles. What would be the ultimate redemption you'd recommend for them, and why? And any final advice for someone looking to make the most of their KrisFlyer miles in 2025 and beyond? Dhimanth, we'll go with you.
Yeah, till we were doing this podcast, my plan was to do the A380 first class, where I could do probably from here to Singapore, and then probably also the next on a first class. But I found the three A350, A380, and Boeing together as a great option, which you just saw. Like I was not aware about that, honestly. Like now it's gonna become one of those options that I definitely want to try geek out about. So two ones, one where I can do a long A380 first class back to back. Again, I don't know if I ever find that availability, but that would be my dream redemption. Possibly going to Australia and watching the final match or the Boxing Day test match would be my ultimate redemption, right? So, or it would be the one where I can experience all the products in one trip. Either of them.
Awesome. That the Boxing Day test match, that is such an incredible goal. And if you do that in your first class, man, you're going to make a lot of us jealous, Dhimanth. But let's hope and pray that happens. We're rooting for you. Ameya, your thoughts to close.
No, I think Demon stole my words. Ideally, if I'd want to do the first class, two seats in the first class, and Sydney is, I think, a great destination to make that happen. Um, yeah, I mean, that would be my number one for sure. And with respect to any advice, with respect to people who want to get into the program, here is who it is great for, right? Like if you don't want to, over optimize, and you want to say, I want that one program that I just want to get into and funnel all my points from whatever cards into. I think KrisFlyer is the answer for you. For the people who want to optimize, it's even better because you can optimize different spends on different sets of cards and then funnel all of that towards this, and it can still work out. It's something, if you're looking for that really special experience and you want to stash up a lot of points, not only do you have the ability to do it with the variety of partners, but you also have the redemptions that match it. Like you can get like these super special experiences, and I'm looking forward to one of these at some point of time soon.
Awesome, awesome. So whether you're saving for that dream suites class experience like Dhimanth is, or you're looking to get maximum bang for your buck like Ameya is, KrisFlyer has something for every points and miles enthusiast. If you've been inspired by this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share the Great Indian Points and Miles show with your fellow travel enthusiasts. On behalf of Dhimanth and Ameya, this is Aadil. And until next time, keep collecting, keep flying, and keep living the high life. This is the three of us signing off for the Great Indian Points and Miles Show.
Lights flashing bright, we're on the go. Tune in now, there's so much to know. Earning bits, travel dreams we sow. All aboard the Great Indian Points and Miles Show. Zero to hero in the blink of an eye. Fly first class, no need to be shy. Redemption sweet, touching the sky. Award seats booked, let's give it a try. Award seats booked, let the points flow. It's all aboard the Great Indian Points and Miles Show. Unlocking journeys wherever you go. The sky's the limit, feel the travel mojo. Hit hidden treasures in every flight. Nights in places that feel so right. From deserts to the city lights, get set, steal those dazzling sights. Miles stack up each passing day. Rewards come back in a million ways. In this game you want to play, the great Indian adventure, yay! Award seats booked, let the points flow. It's all aboard the great Indian Points and Miles show. Unlocking journeys wherever you go. The sky's the limit, feel the travel mojo.